Hey everybody, welcome to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. We have a great show for you tonight. However, before we get started, let's introduce who we got around the table. It's a little sparse tonight.
A little.
A little. So we have
Jamie
and Josh, and that is it. So everybody else is not able to be here tonight, so it's just the two of us.
and watch everybody just turn the channel now.
There's always that possibility, I guess. Tonight we are going to be talking with a animal communicator and a
Psychic medium.
yeah, her name is Samantha Jones. So without further ado, let's get started. All right, so we're here talking with Samantha Jones. She's an animal communicator and a psychic medium.
Welcome, Samantha.
Hello. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So when did you... sorry, hold on a sec. She's got the notes.
No problem.
When did you realize that you had the gifts of like animal communication?
With the animals, the first thing that I remember, I was about 7 years old, and I had this dachshund who had gotten out. She wasn't fixed and met a boy dog. And long story short, she was pregnant. And so I wanted to keep her safe when I was playing with a bunch of my friends. And so I asked her in my head, I closed my eyes and I said to her, I'm afraid that you're going to get hurt. Just go in your doghouse. And that's exactly what she did. She turned around and walked to her doghouse. And I was 7 years old. I was like, okay, that was a coincidence, how that I didn't do anything special. But I kept having these like times when I just knew that what the animal needed, or, like I would have friends that would have animals and I could just pick up what their dog was feeling or needed. And that was hard because, you can't tell an adult your dog doesn't like their food. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pretty young.
Wow.
So like, is it just pictures or like feelings and emotions, or is there any like actual like verbal-ish communication that they communicate back with?
Yeah, I think that everybody's different, but for me, it comes in a few different ways. Pictures are usually number one. They show me visions. And I think that's because they don't really speak our language,
Right.
And so they show a lot of pictures, and I do get feelings. When I do an animal reading, if it's for a living pet, I usually do a body scan to see how they're feeling. And so sometimes I'll even feel that inside my body, what they're feeling. As far as words go, I hear things. It's in my own voice, though. So, I don't really know if that's coming directly from the animal or from like my spirit guides or whatever. I assume it's coming from the animal, but that's what they tend to use the least, is like the verbal.
Okay. Imagine that can be kind of challenging because like animals don't like you said, they don't communicate on our same level. So like, I'm sure the picture's a little bit sometimes disjointed.
Yeah, exactly.
So you kind of have to piece that together, what they're trying to convey.
That I do a lot of lost pet readings, and that's something that I have an issue with because people are like, street names. Can you give me street names? Well, the animal, they're not looking at the street signs when they're crossing by. So I'm seeing things like shapes and colors, like trees and fences and different things. But street names you don't normally see because the dog doesn't look at that. Dog or cat doesn't look at that.
Oh, exactly.
Is that something you've had a lot of success with, like finding lost pets that way?
It's very difficult. Usually I don't find the pet. That's usually not my goal. I have kind of a list that I send the client if they want the lost pet reading that states that too, that I'm in California. If wherever you are, I don't know what it looks like. So it's really, really hard to exactly find where the animal is. But what they do is they show me what's around them, or they'll show me, like, I had a dog that I was working on that was picked up by an older man in an older yellow car. And so that's what I see with the lost pets. So I don't get the locations, I just get clues. So what I tell people to do always is signs, and that's what seems to find the animals. If I give them signs of like, or I give them clues of different things to look for, then they put up signs in that area. We have a lot of success that way.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome, because like I know, like losing a pet, you know, if they go missing, like that's heartbreaking for a lot of people.
It's hard. It's one of the harder things that I do, for sure.
Does the communication only work with like domesticated animals, or does it work for like all animals?
No, it works for all animals. Actually, yesterday my husband and I were at lunch, and there was this bird. I don't know what it was. It was a black bird, but it was like the size of a blue jay, and it had this horrible piercing scream. And I was like, I wish that he would shut up, because, you know, we're trying to enjoy our lunch. And my husband's like, why don't you just communicate with him? And I was like, oh, duh. So I did, and he shut up, and he went to the other side of the patio. So yeah, it can be done. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I wish I could do that one, like the neighbor's dog's barking.
Right. I do that. Yeah, absolutely. That's one of my top things, is shut the neighbor's dogs up.
So there's definitely perks.
Right?
Yeah, there is. Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see. Can you give us a good example? Like, what's like a humorous example of animal communication that you've had? Anything that's like just kind of comical?
Yeah. A lot of times they do these things like to show us, you know, different things about their personality. And so I had a lost pet that I was working on this one time. And the first thing that he did was start talking to me in Spanish, which I thought was really funny, because I'm like, I don't speak Spanish, you know? So I figured that was his way of telling me that his family spoke Spanish. But yeah, they have really funny personalities.
I love it.
That's awesome.
Like right now, my dogs want to start barking. And so I'm telling them, I'm doing an interview, and we've already had this talk.
They're like kids, right? You gotta tell them multiple times.
They are.
Oh, wow.
That's exactly what they're like. Exactly. I see your kitty there in the background.
Oh, yeah.
One of many.
Yeah. One of many.
Yeah. Yeah, we got a few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's our mischief maker.
Which one is
No.
that? Oh,
That's
Willow.
Willow.
That's Willow.
So
Oh, I love that name.
yeah, with the I lost my train of thought.
Did you want to move on to the second?
That happens to me all the time.
Oh, I had
all the time.
a question, and I was like, about the animal stuff, and I'm like, oh, I lost it. We'll come back to it. If it comes back to me, we'll ask it.
Oh, I have
Sure.
one though. I do have one. Like, say like you're out for a walk or a hike and you're in nature. Have you ever had like a wild animal, such as like a deer or anything, that like comes to you asking for any kind of assistance or help?
That's a really good question. And you know what? I'm sure that I have. I'm not really, like, the closest story that I can think of is that I've had some squirrels that, like, I felt they were like, you know, feed us, and they'll just sit there and stare at us. Like, animals do really weird things when my husband and I are out. I'm sure he remembers some stories that I don't, but it's like a mild version of Snow White. You know, it's like the animals, they want to talk to you. So we see weird things all the time. But I haven't really had one that I don't think I've had one like reach out for help that I could think of.
Right.
But that's a great question. I'll have to think about that one.
You should tell them to come clean your house.
Right?
Yeah, right? Exactly.
It's like, I don't have time today.
To do.
Come sweep my floors. You know?
If it worked for
Do
Snow
my dishes. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Honestly.
Have you ever had like an animal spirit seek you out to find its owner? It's like to communicate with its owner.
Yes, absolutely. I actually have that a lot, where people will hire me for like a reading for themselves, or like a spirit reading, and then their animals will come through. That happens all the time. As far as like reaching out, you know, sometimes I get random things from different spirits, but I don't think so much from animals. No, not so much there, but they do come in the readings, like from the other side and that type of thing.
Okay.
Are you able to look at like photos, just like a family photo, and see like the spirits of maybe loved ones or animals in it, even though they're not physically in that photo?
Yes, a lot of times I do see those kinds of things. I usually see their personality come out in those. Like they'll show me if they were funny, they'll be doing something silly. But animals too, yeah, absolutely, always in the pictures. And even like family gatherings, I always feel like even the animals there sometimes, not just the human spirits.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is neat.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm very gifted. I mean, very blessed. I love my job so much.
What is the strangest animal that you've ended up communicating with?
That's another good question. Well, I communicate with a lot of horses. Those are my favorite. As far as I would say probably snakes are one of the weirdest that you would think. I actually I'm afraid of snakes. I don't want to handle them. I don't want to get near them. But they have the cutest personalities. So there was one time that this cobra got loose in the city that we live in. And I saw him on the picture of him on the internet, and he was so sweet. And I was like, that's a sweet cobra. They ended up getting a Twitter for him and everything. And I followed him on his Twitter. I fell in love with this snake. So, but yeah, they're fun to talk to them.
Wow. Any marine life at all?
Yeah, I have talked to fish. I don't think that I've actually gone to an aquarium or anything and talked to the animals there. I try not to do that unless, I'm trying to do something for work or whatever, because I don't want to know what's going on. I hope that they have a good life and that kind of thing, but I don't want to know. So I usually don't communicate and things like that. But fish and fish tanks and that kind of thing, yeah. Those are kind of tough sometimes too, But fish don't have a lot going on, so it's usually, not really much to it. But
especially in captivity, it would. I think going to, an aquarium where they have some sharks and sea turtles and stingrays and whatever. I think that could be maybe quite heartbreaking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I just don't.
It'd be overload, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that kind of goes for zoos as well. You just don't want to know.
Yeah, sometimes we have a zoo here that it's just a small college zoo. And so I have done some there just to see, because I know that these were animals that, they weren't caught or anything. They were rehabbed. So I have done that. And I would like to do more of that. I'm just really sensitive, but I'd like to know the stories of these animals in the zoos that have been rescued,
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I remember we went to, we have a zoo we went to in Washington. It's called Point Defiance. And they would have a golden eagle and a bald eagle there that were injured and they can't fly anymore. So they're just rehabbing them and keeping them in captivity. But it'd be interesting to see what they saw, in the wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Raymond. What else you got?
That's it for animal.
For animal?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm fascinated by it though.
It's honestly something I've never heard of.
Really?
Yeah, never.
Wow.
We've been on a couple investigations with a gal who could see the spirits of animals.
That's cool.
And it was one where we have this town. It's called Thistle. I don't know if you ever heard of it in Utah. It's called Thistle. But
I don't think so.
There was a landslide. It was either an earthquake or I think it was
a flood.
It was an earthquake that I think caused a landslide that caused a flood.
Yeah.
And it ended up just submerging this entire town. And so this farmer lost his entire head of cattle, his entire herd.
Oh, wow.
And so we were at this house, and it's on private property, but we had permission to be there. And he was out there with his cows, just watching over his cows.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. That's cool.
Yeah. It's just,
I love that. Yeah.
but it was just something I've never known someone who can, be the horse whisperer, so to speak.
Yeah.
It makes for an interesting life. I'll tell you that. Not all good because, like I said, I am very sensitive. I have a really hard time with any kind of animal abuse or neglect or anything like that. I have to stay away from rescue work. We just rescued a dog recently, and sometimes I'll get little pieces of what happened to her before she came to us, and I have to block them out because I don't want to know. At least not while she's alive. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
I don't want to know. So it has its ups and downs, like anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to stay away from those videos too that show things like that, animal cruelty, because I'll sit there and I'll bawl, and it'll ruin my whole day. My whole day. So.
Me too. Yeah, especially those ASPCA commercials. It's like that immediately.
Flip the channel
with the song and everything.
Yeah, and it's not that you don't care; it's just you feel it on this whole other level, and it's just like devastating to your very soul, and it's so hard. Yeah. I feel you there.
Very hard. Yeah.
So it sounds like you've been like at least an animal communicator for most of your life. When did you find out that you could talk to human spirits?
It actually wasn't until about 4 years ago.
Wow.
My mother died in 2004, and I started experiencing all kinds of crazy things after she died. And it kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then I actually met a medium, long story short, who told me that I have these abilities. And so I started just trying to work on them and develop them. And they came really quickly, like so quickly I was overwhelmed. And I didn't believe it at first. Because, even though I could communicate with animals, I'll be honest, I still wasn't 100% convinced that psychics were real. And I know that may sound weird. I didn't put the two together. I was like, well, I can communicate with animals, but, I don't know. It just seemed different, But I think because I already had that open, that the people and other stuff came really easy and naturally to me. And I am now a 100% believer that this is real. And it's wild.
Oh.
So what was it that, you went to a psychic, she told you that you had these abilities, but what was it that made you say, you know what, I want to go full bore forward instead of hey, I want to shut that door, I don't want to go anywhere near it?
You know what, honestly, it was hard. And what it was after I learned that I could connect and I felt my mom on a different level, that's what has kept me in this and has made me build this. And I don't want to be pushed away from it because I don't want to be without that presence like that again. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Wow.
Hope that answered your question. I lost my train of thought.
No, that was
so
perfect.
It's kind of like your mom, after she passed, obviously she knew you had these abilities. And it's like she helped you bring them out more through different channels. She's the other half of my story. I plan to write a book, and really that's what it's about, is how my mom dying was I felt like it was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Oh, of course.
And it ended up changing my life for the better. And it's crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, to lose a parent, that's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really hard. Yeah.
Was it something...
I still tear up.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Oh my goodness.
Oh, that's okay. That's natural,
Was it something unexpected, or was it something that you knew was coming?
No, it was very unexpected. Well, she had been kind of sick, but it was asthma and stuff like that. No, nothing that I really thought she was going to die from. But she was in the hospital, and then the day after she got home is when she passed, and they had given her a double dosage of morphine. And I don't think she realized she had that much morphine. So that's what we think happened, was that she just had too much morphine.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad. That's tough.
Yeah.
It was really tough. I was only 26, and that was my first death, really, besides a couple of animals. And it that hit. Yeah.
It hits you hard.
Yeah.
It does, yeah.
Especially when you lose somebody that you're so close with. I lost my dad almost a year ago to the day.
I'm sorry.
And
oh, wow.
It's hard.
It is hard. Yeah.
I still have a really tough time.
Do you feel him around you?
Yes, he's around me.
Yeah.
And I have some of his ashes in my necklace here. but
Oh,
his was brain
beautiful.
cancer. So, we
We had
had
some-
5 weeks.
Oh, wow. That's
And
still
Yes.
really short.
It was
Yeah.
really short. It was really hard. So, yeah.
Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I just...
Well, I would love to communicate with him for you someday if you would like me to.
Absolutely.
Just send me over a picture of him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can definitely do that.
So, like with the human communication, like you mentioned with the animal stuff, you can kind of turn it off and on. Is that the same way with the human stuff, or is it really more, or is it more of like a constant bombardment?
No, I learned early on that I could set rules. So I do have some rules that certain times that they can't talk to me and those kinds of things. And for me, it's kind of like a click, like calling them up, right? It's like using the telephone, and the phone rings and it takes a few minutes to connect, right? Or a few seconds to connect. That's kind of what it's like for me. Like I'll get the ringing in my ear if they're trying to come through. And I do get like psychic visions like randomly and stuff like that. But no, I'm not bombarded. I laid the ground rules for that a long time ago.
Oh, that's good.
And they listen very well. For anybody listening that has that problem, they will listen to you.
Just put those hard lines up there, right?
You got to set your boundaries.
That's
absolutely,
right.
even with the spirits. Yeah.
That's right. Absolutely. Have you ever been like out in public somewhere and you just have like a random spirit come up to you and say, hey, so-and-so is over here. I need you to go tell them this.
Luckily, no. That is a boundary that I have set. I don't want to do that. At least not at this point in my career, maybe farther down the line. But my thing is that you just never know how somebody's going to take that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm really sensitive. I don't want to put myself in that position. So
Right.
I will like feel things about people when I'm out. And like, there was one time that there was this guy that was just surrounded in like white light around him. And I thought about it. I thought about approaching him, but I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm really shy. So that's hard for me. So I think the spirits understand that and they don't push me on that. And I appreciate that. Because
Absolutely.
like Teresa Caputo, she'll just talk to anybody. And I'm like, no, no.
She'll just walk up to him. Hey, you.
Yeah, I'm just not that brave.
Yeah. And I can imagine that for somebody, having somebody else come up and say, hey, you, so-and-so says this, that could be a little unsettling in a way. Because it's so out of the blue.
I have seen people on Facebook that I have been drawn to and that spirits have asked me to reach out. I have done that. And that is very rewarding. And the people are normally open to it. That is definitely rewarding. That I can handle.
Right.
It's a little less face to face, so that helps.
Exactly. Yeah. You don't see the look on their face when they think that you're crazy when they first see your message. So it's easier for me to handle.
Yeah, it's always tough. Like when you're into the paranormal or you deal with the paranormal, people, they'll usually get one or two reactions from them. It's either like, I'm not going to talk to you ever because I think you're the devil.
Right.
Right.
Or they're like, that is so cool.
Tell me more.
Tell me everything you know.
Yep. And to be honest, you never know which is which. Like some of the people that I thought were going to shun me for this haven't. And people that I thought would be okay with it weren't. And so you don't know, it's hard to judge. Because people don't talk about it as openly as they should because they think that it's, whatever, the occult or devil worshiping or whatever they want to think.
Frowned upon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we've talked about that on our podcast too. We've talked about our religious beliefs as a society and how that really affects one's outlook on the paranormal and those pieces. And so,
it does.
Yeah,
it makes me sad. I know some people that I used to be pretty close with, and I know they keep their distance now. So it's hard, but you have to be true to yourself. I can't not be me because some people aren't going to accept it.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you do readings all over the world.
Yes.
How can I put this? What is the furthest part of the world from where you're at that you've given a reading for?
You know what? I'm not totally sure what the furthest from me would be, but I'll tell you that Australia, I have a lot of clients in Australia. I'm in
Really?
California. I worked, one time, because I worked with a lost pet, so they give me their address when I worked with the lost pets. And when she gave it to me, it was like an island off the coast of Madagascar, like a little island. Yeah, it was so cool. I was like, I told my husband right away, I was like, oh my gosh, the reading I just did was so cool because of the location. You know, people don't understand. There's no like block, you know, with the space. It's telepathic. So it's, you know, so all over the world. I've had clients all over the world.
Wow, that must be amazing to be able to just like be in your own home in your own space and do all this remotely for clients all over the place.
Yes, I'm very, very blessed.
Oh, that's amazing.
Do you find working with the spirits over the world in those pieces, right? Like, is there like a psychic language barrier, or do they know how to communicate in the language that you understand?
Well, that's a really good question. There is a language barrier, but it's in our heads. So, like, I can't speak for all psychics, but for me, if I'm not getting something, if I'm not understanding what they're trying to say to me, it's because my vibration isn't high enough to be able to talk to them on that level. So there isn't a language barrier for them. It's what we do. So sometimes I'll even hear my mom, like, after I've meditated or like listened to music for a while, and I get more open, and I'll hear her go, oh, there you are. Because she couldn't get through to me because we weren't on the same vibration level. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That's neat.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we've investigated some places that have German connection, and so we've like picked up German EVPs.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But I was just wondering, because like if you're talking to like a German soldier, right, chances of them speaking English, especially if they're from like 1930 or 1940, like, it's pretty low.
Right. Yeah, well, you're talking about telepathic communication. So like I'll hear the words, but I hear them in my own voice. But with somebody that's German, what I probably will hear just for a brief time is their voice with that accent. So that's something that I'll use to validate to the client that, your father was from Germany, has a German accent or whatever. Some of the accents are hard to distinguish, but the language barrier with other languages, no, I haven't had a problem with that for sure.
Oh, that's neat. That is neat, because I had answered, someone was asking me a question, and they're like, if you go to like Peru, and you're investigating in Peru, and you're asking these questions, you're asking them in English,
right?
Like, do they understand what you're saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because language is a man-made thing. We created it. Right. They don't even use it. They use telepathy, so they can work with us with our telepathy.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah, that is pretty cool. That's awesome. So during your readings, have you ever had, when you're giving a reading to a client, have you ever had like a spirit come through that does or says something really humorous or shows you something really funny that's just kind of comical?
Always. Always. Especially the people that were funny. Mm-hmm. This is this wasn't during a reading, but this is kind of a cool paranormal story for you, where the spirit was being very humorous. I used to do pet sitting, and this client, their son had died. They didn't tell me this. I found out the hard way by meeting the spirit in the house. But he had died by suicide. Oh, and the first night that I walked into the house by myself, he said to me, "Aren't you scared?" That was like the first thing that he said to me. And I said, "Why would I be scared?" And he said, "Because the house is haunted." And I said, "There's no such thing as a haunted house." And I flipped the light switch on, and the light bulb went poof. And went out. Yeah. But he started laughing so hard after that. And I went running. I was like, okay, I mean, I know that they can't hurt me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But right. Something like that happens to you. You don't think logically. You just
react.
You fight. Yeah, you react. Absolutely. So yeah, that was a better one where he just laughed. He thought that was so funny. And my mom will do things to me all the time. Things that she knows will just get like a little rise out of me, and then afterwards I can hear her laughing. They like the humor there for sure.
Oh my goodness.
So do you see the spirits as well and as feel them, or is it more just a feeling?
I have seen some, not a lot. I'm thankful for that. But yeah, the house that we live in now, the original owner, I ran into his spirit twice in one day in this house. He's
Oh,
always
wow.
here, but I have seen him. I have not, like my mom and those like people that are really close to me, I haven't seen like apparitions of, and I appreciate that. I don't think that I want to, but I know when I see them that there's a real reason, you know what I mean? Because they don't use that for me very often. So
Right.
there's a reason why they're there.
Amazing. Let's see what else I got here. So you communicate with those on the other side, as you put it, right?
Yes.
So what are your thoughts on reasons of maybe why spirit will remain instead of crossing over? And are you able to help those that haven't crossed over cross over if they ask you?
I think there's a lot of reasons why a spirit could have issues. Something jarring. We had here in my town, Thousand Oaks, we had a mass shooting. I think it was like we're coming up on the 3rd anniversary. And I went there and I felt that there were a couple of them that kind of felt, their energy felt weird, like they were still kind of here and they needed to be released. So something like that I could definitely see. There was one spirit that, one lady that was hit by a car. She was a crossing guard in the next town over. And I went to the area. I actually was like right there after it happened and I could see her spirit there. It was really kind of cool, but yeah.
Wow.
Lost my train of thought there.
Are you able to help them though?
Okay, I remember what you were. About being stuck here. So those could be reasons why they're stuck here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever assisted the police in finding either a missing person or any of like the cold case stuff?
Those types of things are really difficult. I have not. At first, I thought I wanted to get into that kind of stuff. And I started working on it, and I actually worked with families of a lot of missing people. And it gets very emotional because you see, like there was one girl that I know where she is, I know where her body is, but they can't get to it because it's in like a swampy area. It's probably not even there anymore. So, those are really, really difficult. So at this point, I don't know that I want to work on those so much. But also something that people don't really understand is that like Gabby Petito, okay, let's take this case, for example. I felt things about it, okay, but I'm not talking to Gabby. Unless she comes to me or I have permission to talk to her by somebody close to her, I won't be able to connect to her.
Right.
I'll get things from my spirit guides or whatever. So you need that kind of permission there. When you're working with the police, you have that permission, so it's a little bit different, but you have to have that with the spirit in order to make the connection.
Wow.
That makes sense. It's kind of like it's kind of like making sure you have the number to dial somebody on the telephone so you actually talk to somebody.
Yeah, that connection.
And it's respectful too, I mean, can you imagine? There were a lot of psychics that were saying that they were talking to Gabby, and I was like, you guys aren't talking to Gabby. If you were, she would be overwhelmed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
She just died.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of these people are using like, their spirit boxes and stuff and claiming that Gabby's coming through. And it
might be the spirit guides, but it's not. I don't know how they do that. I really don't know. But I'm not into that.
Yeah.
I'm a spirit box.
Some of us need tools, others don't.
Others have them built in.
I'm a walking tool. So
there you go.
Exactly.
So, do you think that like everybody has the abilities, like has the innate ability to like be a psychic or talk to animals in that avenue, and that it's just a matter of like opening that door, or do you think it's like a select few?
I think everybody has they could do it. Everybody could. But I do believe that there are some of us that were chosen to have these on a different level, that were chosen to help people and animals. And then there are people that just use it, for their own life or whatever. And so that might be on a smaller degree. But like my husband, he didn't have any of these kind of abilities when we met. And now he's starting to build them and spirit's starting to come to him. And so I absolutely believe that you can build them at any time. And I absolutely believe we all have them. It's just a matter of what you want to put into it. And I kind of compare it to working out and like having a six pack. If you want to be good at this, you have to work it all the time. It's a muscle. You have to work it. So the more you work it, the better you'll get at it. If you don't practice it, if you don't use it, then, you know, because I think we're all born with it. I think we even know that like the first few years of our life. Mm-hmm. And then we're turned off by people telling us that it's all imaginary, that, oh, right. You can't possibly see a person over there because, you know, that's not real. Mm-hmm. So that it gets turned off for us.
That and just the outside world, you know, we're so wrapped up in the daily grind that we don't shut down all this noise out here, and you know, we're not quiet long enough or still long enough to let those things come in, and so we don't notice them.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
So
that's right.
Yeah. There's a theory out there that the kids that, you know, like the young kids who have imaginary friends, there's the theory that those aren't really imaginary, that they're actually spirits.
Right. I believe it. Absolutely. I believe it.
You know, and then of
I
course,
probably had imaginary animals as a kid. I don't remember, but I probably did.
Yeah, and that's usually well before we have memories. Usually, I mean,
exactly.
For most people.
Yeah.
So.
Oh,
yeah.
She's crawling all over the soundboard.
Yeah, she's like, "Are you talking to an animal communicator?"
She's like, "Let me talk."
Yeah, put me up to the camera.
Oh my goodness.
Oh.
So what advice would you give somebody that like picks up on certain things and notices them and wants to build on that and kind of maybe open that door a little bit more for themselves? What sort of things can they do to help bring that forward more?
Well, the first thing that I did, and what I tell people is the most important, is practice. Because how are you going to know? And I know it's like, how do you practice right away when you've never done something? Well, okay, right. But how do you practice that? Do you know what I mean? Like the first thing that I did when I wanted to see if I could do this is I got a picture of somebody that had passed away, and I just started saying everything that came to me. And I can't teach mediumship because honestly, for me, it was that easy. I just started connecting that quickly. So I tell people, go to Facebook groups that are for learning, and you can do different readings in there. People put up pictures of themselves or, you know, a spirit or whatever, and you practice on there, you know, practice with your friends that will be supportive of you. And that, I think that's really the most important thing. But then also understanding, like I said before, that this takes time, and not to get discouraged, because like when I first started, I thought that I would know everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know most things. You know what I mean? Like I have to connect. It's not just something that's always there. And I didn't realize that at first. And so I think if people understood more that just be patient with yourself, and you're going to mess up, and, you know, we all do. I'm really bad at like the cards, you know, the Zener cards. Yeah. I'm so bad at those. But I would get discouraged if I tried to just do those. You know what I mean? You have to practice with all kinds of things.
So do you find that meditation's something that kind of will help kind of center you and ground you a little bit and kind of open up with meditation?
I don't think I could do my job without it. Mm-hmm. At first, it was really hard for me because I was learning to meditate and to talk to spirits at the same time. And with the meditation at that point, it was like any noise, any distraction, I would come right out of it. It was horrible, but I could feel it. Like I can still feel it if I haven't meditated, you know? Right. So yeah, it's absolutely. And that's another important part. I thank you for bringing that up, because that's another thing I tell people is you have to learn to meditate. And most people are like, well, I can't because, you know, my mind wanders. Well, your mind's supposed to wander. That's a part of meditating. You're supposed to learn to bring your mind back to center, because that's what happens to us all the time. We're not, you know, without thought. We have to learn to bring it back. But it can be tough, but it's important.
Good advice. Yeah, because I often feel that way when I try to shut my mind off and block out other things. I'm all over the place. the more I feel like I
Yes.
try to block it out and quiet my mind a little bit to focus, the more I'm all over the place. So it's hard. It's so hard.
Yeah. It is tough. It is, but it's kind of an art. Once you get the hang of it, you can do it anywhere. Like if I'm out in public, like my husband and I went to the Rolling Stones concert like last week or something, and I have a little fear of big stadiums like that. But I can go in the bathroom and I can calm myself. I didn't used to be able to do that. Now I can. I can calm myself and recenter myself. And that really, really helps. So it helps with things outside of my job too. Sure.
Probably with anxiety and everything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I feel a different person after I've meditated.
And I imagine too, like most people that I've talked to who have abilities, they're also very sensitive to other people's moods and feelings. So I could imagine like going to a stadium would be like sensory overload.
It is. Yeah, I'm an empath too, so I pick up people's emotions and feelings, and I, especially after COVID, with being locked up for so long and then trying to get back to regular life, I get really overwhelmed really quickly. So I'm very thankful for my ability to meditate on command, because it has been hard for me. And I pick up, even when I'm doing readings, if somebody is like getting really anxious, I'll feel it. And so I have to have them calm down so that I can relax and bring my vibration up. So yeah, very sensitive to it all.
I imagine empaths, they're like sponges, you kind of absorb what others are giving off, and that can be so overwhelming, and learning how to either block it or calm yourself down is probably crucial.
Yes, absolutely. And that was something that took me a long time. And I still have a hard time. If my husband's having a bad day and he wants to talk about it, I have to let him get, up. I have to let him get kind of angry without me picking up on that, so that he can get it out, but I don't absorb it. And that's really, really difficult, especially with somebody that you spend so much time with, because you just absorb their energy naturally. But yeah, my husband has learned to calm down a lot since we started the spiritual journey, and that has helped me tremendously.
I bet. It's like him in Walmart. I don't like him going to Walmart because he comes back and his energy has changed. Yeah. And he's just quiet, and there's just this underlying something, and then I get a bad attitude.
Yeah.
Just for no reason.
Well, they've
it's
said
weird, right?
It's weird. It's weird.
Yeah.
They say that Walmart's
so fast too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They say Walmart's the worst place to go if you're empathic, because you're just going to pick up everybody's awfulness.
I believe it. Misery. Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Yeah. So kind of centering and clearing yourself when you come home from places like that is probably also very crucial.
I'll keep that in mind.
Just to clear and release
absolutely.
it. Yeah.
I need I need quiet time. I just need to be alone for a little while.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily, sometimes I have to meditate, but a lot of times it's just, I just need some quiet, and it,
a little bit of peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So are you able to like look at people or like just talk with people and are you able to pick up on their abilities if they have any?
Yes, I do. Actually, I have many stories about that, but one of my favorites is at the very beginning of learning about my abilities, I did a reading for this girl, Nisha, and her mother had just passed, and we were talking about it, and she was asking me all kinds of questions, and her mother said, "Why doesn't she just ask me herself?" And so I said that to Nisha. I was like, "Why don't you just ask her yourself?" And she's like, "I can't talk to her." And I was like, "No, you can though." A couple months later, I heard from her that her abilities were so built up that she started her own Facebook group, and she was doing readings for people. And she is one of the best mediums that I know. She's one of the few that I go to.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a way to discover you have abilities.
Right?
Right? Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, amazing.
Well, sometimes people are told they have abilities and then they tell everybody else, "No, I don't."
Yes. Yes. Or I see the personal look there. The first year that I knew that I was a medium, I didn't want anybody to know. because I thought that people would judge me too harshly.
Right.
It took me a long time to come out of the psychic closet. But you know what I think is important on the spiritual journey is that you are yourself, and that those people that don't want to be around you because you have a special gift that they don't understand, they don't need to be around you. And
100%.
I learned that, you know, and it changed my life. So that's my advice to people too, is don't be shy.
Yeah.
Don't be shy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and some people who are told that they have abilities, I think it's more or less that they don't want to be told that they do. They don't want to put out there that they do and then be totally wrong.
That's
and
true. Yes,
feel
absolutely.
feel silly and stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that's something that's hard
I
too.
have a hard time reading for like my friends still sometimes, because
Yeah.
I do feel like, oh my gosh, what if I'm wrong? And I know myself better than that, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
But it took a
exactly.
long time for me to build up that kind of confidence. You know, that didn't come overnight. And like I said, I still get nervous. And if I put on the spot, like, you know, can you read this person for me? Sometimes I'm like,
You draw a blank. You're like, I don't know.
yeah.
I'm not
What am I
getting
doing? I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah.
And I imagine that, you know, even though you're well tuned into your abilities, I imagine that you're always constantly learning and growing in them.
Oh, yeah.
I think that never stops.
That's never going to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's never going to end. And that is cool. Like there's some things that I really am not good at yet, like names. I don't get spirit names very well. My husband and I went to see, oh gosh, what was his name? There was a famous medium when we went to see him, and he's so good with names. So good. He brought my mom came through, and he was like, does the name Linda make sense to you? And then he started repeating it, Linda, Linda, Linda. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to be able to do that. And sometimes I get them, like if I'm typing, you know, I will actually have the word that I'm typing change to the spirit's name. So it's like they're helping me with that.
Wow.
But so far, I'm not really great at like picking up like, okay, this spirit, their name is such and such. So I'm hoping one day that I'll be able to do that. But something that I think is happening a lot is that it opens your eyes to the possibilities of what's actually out there, that things that I never thought that I would believe, that I believe in now, that they keep handing you that stuff because you can't handle it all at once. So that's a learning process too, because you couldn't handle it. Like all the things that I've learned so far, one time they were like, here's this book all at once. No, you got it, just like school. You got to take your time and learn it. And there's a lot. And I know I'll never stop learning. Never.
Right. And that's part of that's, you know, like in the paranormal and what we do, we never stop learning.
No.
You
Yeah.
know, ever.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
And I actually love that part about it because
There's so much.
It's always going to be interesting. It's always going to be this growing process. So,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Always
love
finding
it.
new things. Yeah, absolutely.
And do you think it's something like that your spirit guides kind of block it in certain aspects to kind of protect you because you're not ready at that point? Or,
Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. There's just things like simultaneous time. I have a really hard time with that concept. So whenever my husband starts talking about it or somebody else, like my mind goes, it's because I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that yet. Like there's other things that need to come first before I could even possibly understand that.
Right.
Yeah, that's happened with a lot of different things. Aliens, I'm thankful for it because, yeah, it takes a little time to absorb all of that.
Yeah, aliens scare me.
Do they? Oh, no.
I don't know why.
We're the ones that we shouldn't be afraid. They're afraid because we're the hotheads, not them.
That's very true. It's just that unknown. There's something about them that I don't know, and I'm guessing it's just a matter of it's not knowing what, you know, why they're here and what they're visiting for. But I think more or less they're observing us, studying us.
Probably, yeah, absolutely. Try and maybe even help us, but keeping a safe distance because you know I don't blame them.
I don't either.
No.
Not at all.
No,
we're not a friendly planet.
No.
No, we're shoot first, ask questions,
right?
Dissect later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why would they want to come here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, why?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I still struggle with, and it's weird too because it's like I believe in most everything paranormal, and then you get to that, and it's like, I don't know. If
Really?
yeah.
You don't know if you believe in aliens?
In aliens, yeah.
But aren't we silly to think in the vast universes and galaxies out there that we're the only ones?
Oh, absolutely.
It's kind of naive on our part.
Absolutely. But I think it comes down to the whole seeing is believing thing. Like, I've seen spirits.
Yes.
I've interacted with spirits, so I know they exist because I can quantify it. But, like, quantifying an extra, like, an interstellar or inner space being or interdimensional, depending on how you believe aliens live, it's like that becomes something that's beyond my logic circuits.
So what you're saying is you're like an open-minded skeptic of it. Like, you're not closed off to it. You're open-minded, but you need more.
I need a lot more.
Okay.
And it might be one of those things, like, when I die and the some of the mysteries of the universe are revealed, it's like, okay, I'm good. I got it.
Yeah.
I get it.
But you know what? I was like you before I started the spiritual journey. My husband would watch Ancient Aliens, and they would talk about how, like, the pyramids aligned with the stars or whatever, and I would be like, this is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Now I totally buy it.
Yeah.
Totally. So sometimes you just maybe need a spirit to tell you for themselves what's real.
Yeah.
I think that's what did it for me.
When we live in Utah, and we live in a big, like, UFO hotspot.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
So
yeah. They probably have, I can't remember what they're called, but they have, like, UFO get-togethers and stuff.
Oh, wow.
They do.
I can't remember the guy's name, but there's this guy that's really into this, and he does this whole, like, thing where people go out camping and they bring in the UFOs. I don't know, never been to one, but
Interesting, though. Well, and that's like Skinwalker Ranch out here, too.
Yeah.
Just,
like, oh, yeah.
centered around all the UFOs and stuff, so.
Amongst other things,
amongst
paranormal.
other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
For sure.
So.
Have you ever been on a paranormal investigation?
Professionally, no, but I have been to places that I didn't expect spirits that I don't want to use the word haunting, but that occupied these places.
Right.
The spirits that came to me when I was there. So I didn't really go out looking for them so much. But yeah, I'll pick up those things. I would love to do it. My husband and I have talked about, like, going to New Orleans and doing like a ghost tour there or something. I would love to do that. I think it would be so much fun.
Amazing.
Yeah, we have, there's a company here in Utah that does haunted tours.
Yeah, nice.
So if you ever get out this way, we can definitely get you hooked up and get you into some places. And
I'd love to, yeah, for sure.
So, so we've talked a lot about human spirits. Do you pick up on the inhuman ones as well, or just the human ones?
What do you mean by inhuman? Like the angels?
Angels, demons, and then the plethora of things that have never had a human body.
Elementals.
That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever connected to a spirit that hasn't had a human body. I don't think so. So my personal belief is that demons do not exist. I believe the only evil is humans. So no, I haven't. But angels, yeah. My husband and I have a podcast too, and we did an episode on different, like, archangels, and I have connected with them. But I would say that's probably the extent of that is the archangels.
Okay. Yeah, everyone's got their own theories of the good and evil battles of the world.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't believe you ever really know until it's your time.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're not going to know.
That's everybody's entitled to their opinion. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely,
100%.
So, and the thing is, the paranormal, it's so broad, it's so open,
very,
and nobody knows even a 0.1% of any of it that's out there.
No, we don't. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, and I honestly think we're not meant to. Like,
you know what? No. And you know why? Because our human brains, sorry, there go my dog. Our human brains would not understand it. They just wouldn't, we wouldn't be able to understand.
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Yeah, so we just don't. And we'll learn those things after we go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned you have a podcast. What's the name of your podcast?
It's called Spiritual Chatter with the Joneses. And it's just basically my husband and I talking about something, like we'll pick a topic and then we discuss it. And we love it. That's why we call it Chatter, because we used to we still do, sit around and just talk about nothing and have these big, deep discussions. Mm-hmm. And we were like, people would probably think we're crazy, but there's people too that would probably love this. So that's when we started the podcast.
Oh, that's awesome. How long have you guys been around?
Almost 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Yeah. I think we're, this week is episode 132.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Leaps and bounds ahead of us.
We've been going at it for a while. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Where can people find you?
They can find us. We're on Facebook and Instagram is at Spiritual Joneses. I know that our name is kind of hard to find, so that I try to make it easy with at Spiritual Joneses. You can even Google it that way and find us that way. Or my website, SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. There is a link to the podcast on there as well.
Perfect.
So we just want to say, thank you for, spending about an hour with us and kind of hanging out. And
that was awesome. Thank you.
Yes,
you guys are very
so
easy to talk to. You never know what you're going to get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, are they skeptics? Are they, you know what I mean? It's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think anyone that claims to be a psychic or have gifts, I'm naturally open-mindedly skeptical about them, because there's,
as you should be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Just because there's been so many people that have used it to, defraud people and stuff, and it's just not very,
absolutely
not very good.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree. For sure. You should absolutely make sure before you get a reading from somebody that you check their not references, but like recommendations. Mm-hmm. And also, if anybody ever says to you that like they can remove a curse, it's going to cost you extra though, those types of things, run. Yeah. That a real medium will not try to add on and tell you that, they can build a replica of your boyfriend out of clothing that they buy at Walmart, stuff like that.
Oh my goodness.
I heard it all.
Red flag.
So, red flag. Please,
run.
But people buy it. They buy into it. Oh my gosh, if I do this, So no, I tell people don't ever, no.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Anything else?
I'm out.
All right.
Thank you so much
Thank you guys so much.
This has been great. Now I'm going to go look into like animal communication more because I am just so interested in learning more about it.
The world needs more animal communicators. So.
It's so fascinating. Yeah. So fascinating.
Yeah.
I love it. So thank you so much, Samantha. This was great.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
All right. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Bye.
Ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. So that was our interview and our conversation with Samantha Jones. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. I know we did.
Absolutely, a lot of interesting things there.
Yeah, and I'd never heard of someone being an animal communicator before, or using that terminology. So I think that was, for me, that was the most interesting thing to listen to. That part.
Absolutely, eye-opening, fascinating.
Absolutely.
Honestly,
yeah. I guess it's always interesting, being pet owners ourselves. I've always wondered, what's going on in their minds.
Wouldn't it be nice to have those abilities to actually kind of get a little more insight into what they're actually saying?
Oh, absolutely.
What they're really trying to tell you?
And sometimes I think it would be scary, because I think there's some of our cats that might just want to take over the world.
They're plotting.
Yes.
I know they're plotting. No.
But yeah, if you guys want to know more about Samantha Jones or even schedule a reading, you can go to her webpage, which is SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com.
Mm-hmm. And her readings, it looked like, start at $35.
Yep.
For how long?
15 minutes.
15 minutes.
So she'll do a nice short reading for you. She does say that she can do the animal communication in that manner as well. So if you have lost a pet, or if your pet is suffering from unknown issues,
she may be able to help you out.
She may be able to help. So She also has a podcast out there. There's links to her podcast on her page, so you can guys listen there. And for us, you can find us on Facebook.
Yes, you can find us on Facebook at Cold Spot Paranormal Research, as well as Paranormal Peeps Podcast.
Yeah. And you also find us on Instagram at coldspot_paranormal_research.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you guys, too. Give us some feedback. Tell us how we're doing. Any suggestions? What would you like to hear?
Yeah, leave us a review. Go to, wherever you're listening to the podcast. Go in there, give us a review, give us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. So all feedback is good. Can't get it any better if we don't know what we're doing wrong. So you guys have a wonderful and enjoying evening, and stay ghosty, my peeps. Thank you for listening to the Paranormal Peeps podcast. You can find us on social media at Twitter at CPR Paranormal, on Facebook at Paranormal Peeps Podcast and Cold Spot Paranormal Research. And you can find us on Instagram at coldspot_paranormal_research.